Now, there was a big Premier League programme at the weekend, and of course, Manchester City cannot be stopped from winning the league. They're a long way ahead of everyone else. Manchester United are a long way ahead of the third team, Leicester. What's really fascinating about the Premier League at the moment is the Champions League, the battle for Champions League places, and it's really tight with big clubs likely or possibly missing out. Chelsea, Spurs, Liverpool are all fighting for a Champions League place, and West Ham with getting the 3 points against Wolves last night, a remarkable result. They are in the top four. West Ham, who would have believed it? It's a great achievement by David Moyes. And we're joined now by John Giles to talk about the Premier League at the weekend. Just to say in passing, John, David Moyes last night, West Ham away to Wolves, go 3-0 up, 1-3-2 in the end. Declan Rice wasn't fit and he's out for 6 weeks, and he is by far their most important player. Nevertheless, he's done a great job at West Ham, John, hasn't he? I mean, he's got rid of all the villains, the non-triers. He's got a proper good team together, and it's great to see him really regaining his status, which he lost when he left Everton. He'd been a great manager at Everton. Alex Ferguson nominated him to succeed Ferguson at Manchester United. Didn't work out. He wasn't really given much of a chance, was he? And he's a good football man and a very, very good coach.
Yeah, he's done a really good job, Eamon, because what we've all known over the years with West Ham, a bit flashy, but no real substance in them. No. And he's put a plenty of substance in them. As you say, Rice didn't play the other day, no. And I think we all regard him as their best player. And he's done a really, really good job, And what a good signing him getting Lingard in.
Yes, and he had a hand in all 3 goals last night. Yeah. And one of them was a special goal. He picked it up in his own half of the field and went all the way into the Wolves penalty area before tucking it away. He's always been a player with promise, but at United he never seemed to get a run of games.
Well, he did for a few years, He's not a young fella. I mean, he's on the pep. He's 28 now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's. But I think he's a young fella that was always doing sort of tricks.
Yeah.
Not just on the pitch, but when he scored a goal and all that, as if his head was somewhere else. And I think being out of the limelight for a while, I think he's actually grown up and matured into a really, really good player. So I don't know what United are going to do. I mean, he's only on loan at West Ham. I mean, are they going to bring him back? The way he's playing at the moment, he'd probably be the best forward.
Yeah, and just to go back to Moyes, I mean, one of the things that a top coach needs is the ability to spot talent, which David Moyes clearly had the sort of smarts to get Lingard, but then to get performances out of a player like that, to give him the right opportunities, to ask him to do things he can do. That's another aspect of being a top coach, and he's ticked both of those boxes, and the Lingard example shows it up, doesn't it?
Definitely. I mean, he was very solid. I mean, he did a great job at Everton for years.
Yes.
I mean, the worst thing that happened to him was getting the United job. I don't think he was ready for that at that particular time. But he put Antonio, as we know, up front.
Yes.
And what a player he's turned out to be. I mean, he got injured, I think, yesterday. But what a player he's turned out to be. Great pace. He's holding the ball up.
Strong.
He's doing brilliantly. So they're a genuine side. That's for sure. And he's done a great job. Great job.
Now, obviously, the Liverpool match at Arsenal was a big match. Arsenal, they're sort of lingering around the best they could possibly have hoped for before this match is a Europa League place. But Liverpool gave them a spanking, John, and 3-0. Jota getting 2 goals and Mo Salah chipping in with his usual 1. Let's talk about Liverpool first, John. What did you make of it?
Well, they totally outclassed them. I mean, Liverpool. They were in good nick. Arsenal were hugely disappointed.
Yeah, hugely
disappointed. Real trouble. But from Liverpool's point of view, they got it going again. I mean, these got terrific players. They maybe had. It's just they've had a bad time. They've had a bad time with injuries, as we know, more than anybody else. But they've still got the terrific players. But as far as the game was concerned, there was only one team playing.
Yes.
That was Liverpool. They killed them.
They locked Arsenal in their own half. And he went with all these big signings, Arteta. Now, I have respect for Mikel Arteta. He was with Pep, of course, at Manchester City. I think he's done his best. He got rid of Ozil. But now he inherited Pepe, 72 million Pepe costs, doesn't try a leg. Aubameyang got a new 350,000 a week contract on the back of scoring an awful lot of goals in the last 2 seasons. Hasn't scored a goal since, or hasn't tried a leg. Lacazette, another player with talent. And he started them all against Liverpool, and they really didn't try a leg. And as you said, they couldn't get out around half, could they?
No, they were terrible, Eamon. I think Aubameyang is the biggest trouble now.
He's the new Ozil.
He's not quite as bad as Ozil. But if he keeps going the way he's going, he could catch up on him. That's for sure. Yeah. Aubameyang, as we know, his record got to a top player last year. But it shows you what can happen, Eamon, in my opinion. A player gets a big contract like that, and depending on the individual, of course. But it looks like Aubameyang got my big contract. Now I can take it easy. Yeah. Because he hasn't played. He hasn't played this season. I mean, he was brilliant last year, leading up to the and we've seen it before in other players. I mean, money corrupts and can corrupt. Not with everybody, but I think in Aubameyang's place, I don't think he's trying a leg.
No, he's not. And funnily enough, just to underline what you're saying and to support it, 2 of the greatest players in the history of the game. Lionel Messi, Barcelona, we all know what he's earning. It's telephone numbers. Top scorer in Spain with 23 goals. Cristiano Ronaldo, top scorer in Serie A with Juventus, 24 goals. Juventus are in trouble, but he's still scoring goals. But the point about money, these guys, no matter what they're earning, they're striving to get better.
Yeah, well, that's what great players do, Eamon.
Yes.
And they have that temperament and they have that will to do it. But unfortunately, a lot of players don't have that attitude. And certainly, I don't think Aubameyang is showing this year. All players have a bad time, Eamon. Don't play well, as we know. But when you're not trying, I mean, this fella's not the same player as he was last year. This is when he was playing for his big contract. That's what it looks to me.
Yep.
He got his big contract, he's got it. Now I can take it easy.
Yeah.
Now, Messi and Ronaldo and the great players over the years would never do that because they have that pride, they have the ambition to do their best all the time. But it doesn't look like Aubameyang is a Ronaldo or a Messi, Eamon.
I don't think so, John. No. And looking across Europe, John, Harry Kane, top scorer in the Premier League with 19 goals, strong character. Lewandowski at Bayern Munich is 35 goals this year. And the French top goal scorer is Kylian Mbappe, a really great young talent. And it'll be fascinating to see where he goes when he does eventually leave PSG, which may or may not be at the end of this season. But to go back to the Premier League, John, and the battle for Champions League places, I mean, it's 50 million you're playing for here. It's big money. The Liverpool result helps them. They're only 2 points outside the top 4 places now, maybe 3 after West Ham's win last night. But he can take some encouragement. And one of the things I was going to ask you about was Kabak and Phillips, the centre-half partnership, central defence partnership. We were very hard on Kabak, well, I was anyway, and not so much on Phillips, when he was brought in from Schalke, who are bottom of the Bundesliga or close to the bottom of the Bundesliga. And we thought, well, they should have gone out and paid proper money and got a proper player. I thought Kabak and Phillips have played well on Saturday night and have been playing well for the last couple of weeks. So they have settled into the team, and that partnership now looks functional and okay.
Yeah, I think so, Eamon. I mean, they're not in the same class as the players they had, but they're injured. Obviously, the injury situation. they're not going to be as good as those players. But if they do okay, then all the other players they have get into form, which they're doing, is the main thing. Now, I wouldn't get too carried away with the Arsenal result because, as we said before, didn't try a leg anyway. But it's a good start for Liverpool to get back on track again, Eamon. And the other teams are making it easier for them for the Champions League places.
Yes.
I know you're going to come to Chelsea and Spurs and all the teams around them.
Yeah.
Are not doing their stuff. So it's given Liverpool a really good chance.
Yeah.
I think they will get into the Champions League places.
Yeah, and it's very, very important, particularly for clubs, John, with American owners who are very money conscious. They're investors rather than sugar daddies. And the 50 million or so that being in the Champions League gains you is something they very much have their eye on. Now, let's just talk about the special one, John. Tottenham Hotspur.
Yeah.
They went to Newcastle. You'd expect them to win. They were winning, and 5 minutes from the end, Newcastle got the equaliser. After the match, Mourinho had a go at his players. He said, asked about this indifferent performance. I should say Harry Kane scored 2 goals. But after this indifferent performance, he said, well, I'm the same coach, but the players, they're not the same players. So he's a great coach, but his players...
He didn't quite put it like that, Eamon, but I just actually wrote it down, what he said. Yeah. He said, as a coach who could see out a game when in the lead, this is asked by the press, replied, same coach, different players. Yeah. In other words, it's the players' fault. And I see in the paper today, Eamon, the players are you wouldn't expect them to. The headline is Spurs Fury, Stars angry at Mourinho's digs after town milk, Alderweireld baffled by claims he missed training, Jose Pate. So things are, well, we've seen it before with Mourinho, Eamon. He's been a great coach, as we know. But when things go against him on the pitch, it's never his fault. No. And it looks like that's the case now at Spurs, and it's not good. It's not good for them, that's for sure.
No, and the feeling that he's yesterday's man and his style of play, and indeed the way he treats players, all of that seems to be yesterday's way of doing things. It's borne out when you look, the last time he left Chelsea, he created desperate trouble in the club, particularly with the woman who was... taking care of the players on the pitch, the medical, the physio. Also, he had terrible fights there, went to Manchester United, same story again, drama, melodrama, and in the end he walked. So this is a job, the Spurs job, that he needed to convince people that he still has what it takes. Now, you could say, a great coach like him or someone who's won as much as he has doesn't become a bad coach overnight, but maybe he becomes a bad coach over a couple of years at the wrong clubs.
I think whatever position he's in, Eamon, well, we don't know him, but what strikes me is when they're winning, he's fine and he takes all the credit.
Yeah.
But as soon as they start losing, he starts blaming the players.
Yeah.
And then that happened at Manchester United, the way he treated some of the players. So it's never his fault. And what we see at the moment is very similar to those situations he gets in. And when the team is playing well, and I think he has been a great coach, and probably still is a great coach, but his personality is that he can take the responsibility when the things are not going well. And then it gets worse.
Yeah,
look at all the players he fell out with Eamon at Manchester United,
Yeah, he loses the dressing room, as they say. They're beginning to use that term now for politics as well. But in his last spell at Chelsea, John, the players down tools. I remember Hazard didn't kick a ball for 6 months.
Yeah, he fell out. Well, any club that he's been in, Eamon, I don't think he ever leaves any of them on good terms.
Right.
It always seems to be. And I think with Chelsea, when he went there, they got off to a great start when he got there. And obviously that was down to him as well. So therefore everything was good and it kept going, good. But as soon as he hits a bad strike or a bad time, then it's the players. It's never him. And that definitely seems to be the case now, because he's got on to 2 players now who apparently, he said, didn't turn up for training on the Friday.
Yeah.
And it's in the press this morning. There's photographs of them there on Friday.
Yeah, Alderweireld, who's a very good centre-half, is one of them, and Aurier is the other full-back.
So how's that going to work out now? You know
I don't know.
But
it would have been nice to be in the training ground this morning. Anyway, let me ask you about another player in all of that mess at Tottenham. Harry Kane, top scorer in the Premier League, scored 2 at Newcastle at the weekend, hit the post actually when he almost had a winner near the end. He's 27, John. He is, I think we both believe, I think you believe from the first time you saw him, he is a really top player, isn't he? Character, ability, he has the whole package. Yeah,
and he's got better, Eamon.
Yes.
You know, he's got better. And some players do. A lot of strikers, he's got better in a way that, an intelligent way, that he's come deeper now.
Yes.
To actually create goals and still score them. Because I think when you're, I'm not going to get too tactical now, but for a centre forward, if he stays up the pitch a lot, then he's relatively easily to mark.
Yes.
To mark.
Yeah.
Whereas if he comes deep, it's very difficult. Do I go? Do I not go?
Yeah.
And he has the intelligence of now, like as a midfield player,
yes,
at the right time, and still getting up there. Because now if he's doing what he's doing, which is to come deep and use the ball, get it out to the wings. Now he's coming from behind the defenders. It's much more difficult to pick him up. So I think it's made him a better player. But it's a lot of players don't have the intelligence. Like if you take Aguero, for example, Eamon, one of the great goal scorers, terrific goal scorer, and he does it the way he does it. Kane is now creating goals.
Yes, for Son.
And scoring goals.
Yes, yeah, for Son.
Especially for Son.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's actually playing like a midfield player at times, but getting into position as a striker at the right time. Now, that takes a lot of intelligence, a lot of ability, and that's exactly what he's doing. So, I mean, for him to be winning the trophies, I'd say at Spurs, it doesn't look good at this particular time, Eamon. Now, whether he moves into summer, but with Levy, he's going to put about 200 million on him.
Yeah,
Eamon.
Yeah.
So I think it's not going to be easy for him to get away if he wants to get away.
Yes, this is the Iron Man that runs Tottenham Hotspur Football Club in his own way. But I would say, with their new stadium, John, if they were to sell Harry Kane, you'd be looking at a very different team. You'd be really selling the best silver. It wouldn't be a good deal, would it?
No, but businessmen are businessmen, Eamon, as you know. They're not football men.
No.
And I think he's 27, 28 now.
27, yeah.
You know what I mean? So the Levy is a businessman, Eamon, and he looks at it and says, 120 million, 130 million now, and he's 27, 28. They can be tempted to do so.
Okay.
But he's a terrific player, Eamon. I think he's become a great player.
Right. Yeah, and of course he has I saw on Sky last night, Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher picking their England squad. It was a very interesting conversation, but we'll talk about that maybe a little nearer to the Euros. Let me ask you now about Manchester United, John. They played Brighton last night. Brighton went 1-0 up, and United scrambled to get a 2-1 victory. Fernandes again involved in the making of both goals, and people have cottoned on to this notion now, which I'm inclined to agree with. The Fernandes against the lesser teams is devastating because of his intelligence, his ability to pick out passes, and of course to score goals. But when it comes to the big teams, his record isn't so great against the Liverpools. And against Leicester's big top 6 teams, Chelsea, he tends to disappear or doesn't really have so much influence on games.
Well, I don't think that's his fault, Eamon.
Right.
I think that the position he plays is not as a midfield player getting control of the game. He's in front of them and dependent on players to get possession of the ball and deliver to him.
Yes.
When they play against the lesser teams, the likes of Pogba and the other players, McTominay, can do that.
Yeah.
But when they're playing against the better teams,
yes,
right, they're not good enough to get into positions
right.
to deliver the ball to him. He doesn't dictate the game, Eamon. He's a finisher, either scoring goals or making goals. So he has to have somebody, say like if Paul Scholes was playing today and Keane,
yes.
right, he'd get the ball all the time, no matter who they were playing against, whether it be the top teams or not. So I don't blame him for that, because it's not his effort, not lack of effort on anything that he plays with. He does in those games what he does against the lesser teams.
Yes.
And it's delivered the ball. Somebody has to give it to him and make the positions. He gets into positions that the likes of Scholes have to deliver to him. When they're playing against the better teams, they don't get the ball and don't get it to him.
Right.
So I don't blame him at all in it. I think if he was playing it with the Scholes and the Keane in the middle of the field, he'd be even better than he is in all the matches.
Yeah. So United, I mean, we bitch about. I won't include you, about Solskjaer and stuff. They're clear second in the table. Now, has been a strange season, John. There's no doubt about that. But they're unbeaten away from home in 15 games. Yeah. And at home, they're doing okay. They're second in the table. Have you had any cause to revise your opinion of Solskjaer, or would you still say I think we've both sort of agreed on, that he just doesn't have the presence, the stature to be a Manchester United manager, and we're not sure how much clout he has when it comes to signings?
Well, I don't think he's any clout, Eamon, when it comes to the getting the players in.
Yeah.
And no, I haven't changed my mind about him, Eamon. There's an awful lot of talented players at Manchester United, as we know.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'll play that team today, go out and play. I think with the great managers, Eamon, every match they play, they learn something from, and obviously then the more matches you play, the team gets better.
Yes.
It either stops them, they score more goals, or obviously particularly helping them not to concede goals.
Yeah.
I don't see that with Manchester United. It's like, go out and play, and it'll be the same as last week. And with the talented players there, obviously they're going to do well. But are they going to be champions? And I don't think so, Eamon. I don't think he's improving the players as you go along.
Right. Well, let me ask you...
Even Brighton, Eamon, the other day. I mean, Brighton actually, to be fair to them, they did well, but they bottled it, Eamon, to be quite honest.
Yeah. Didn't believe. Yeah,
they couldn't believe they were in the front. It was only a matter of time before United scored a goal. But that's Brighton. I mean, it's a different thing altogether. But from Solskjaer's point of view, I just see him go out and play. A lot of talented players can be very good, or not so good, or sometimes not, or sometimes bad. I don't see a continuation of, that team is getting better, and they're doing this, they're doing that, and they're doing the other. I don't see that. It's go out and play, and every match is a different match.
There's a remarkable fact as well. It looks like Henderson, who you put in your Premier League team of the season, who was at Sheffield United on loan last season. Henderson is in the team now, and De Gea, it looks like, is second choice. There's been talk to that effect in the papers. De Gea signed a contract worth 375 grand a week. It's another example of a big contract, and his performances dipped alarmingly. And as I say, Henderson might well be the number one choice now. It's an interesting situation, that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a funny situation, because I think he was given leave to go to, I think his wife was having a kid or something.
She was, baby,
Well, I never heard of that before.
It's actually, John Rahm is playing in the Masters this week, and he said he wasn't going to play in the Masters and miss the birth of his wife's baby. We're going to get a lot of...
But that's it is a personal thing.
Yeah, but in our day, if you said to Don Revie, sorry, Don, we're playing Liverpool. I know we're playing Liverpool at Anfield this week, but Anne's having a baby, and I won't be there. What would you have said, John?
Well, I couldn't repeat it. Imagine what Shankly, imagine what Annie did. But that's fair enough. That's the way times have changed. But to give him like 4 or 5 or 6 weeks off.
It's called paternity paternity leave. Jeez.
Yeah, but I mean, that's
taken off the air.
I understand it, but I mean, if you're playing for Manchester United, but it seemed to me, as Il Solskjaer said, right, off you go.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
and you give it
to give Henderson the chance. That's the way I saw it from a professional point of view. Eamon, do you know what I mean?
I do. We better stop. Okay, Chelsea, John. Now, this is a remarkable result. Chelsea 2, which they were lucky to get. West Brom 5. Big Sam. Looks like they're relegation bound even after that result. However, they did score 5 against Chelsea, and Thomas Tuchel's team had only conceded 2 in the previous 11 games he's been in charge, which is amazing. Now, Thiago Silva was sent off for 2 yellow cards in the first half, but still, have to say Callum Robinson, who did well for Ireland, I thought, in the matches he played. He scored 2 of the goals, and he's a lad with a lot of promise. But the last time Chelsea won, West Brom won at Chelsea, was in 1978. And if I'm not mistaken, you had managed that team, but you were home by then, weren't you? You came home in 77.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I played there in the second division, Eamon.
Yes.
And actually we beat. But anyway, that's another day's work. But we did. I'm funny that's in 78. Yeah, because they would have been. Yeah, I didn't know Chelsea were in the first. What was then the first? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it's a long time ago.
Yeah. Now Chelsea, John, this fella Thomas Tuchel, he was at PSG. You say you like him. You liked what you saw of the PSG team he had. But this, my take on this is that it only underlines the strength and depth of the Premier League, if you like. There's no game you can take for granted. Whereas in France, PSG would have a lot of easy games.
Well, I think that's true, Eamon. But I'd seen them before he took over as manager, and they didn't have the drive then that I saw in his team.
Yes.
But anyway, but it's actually I was more interested in West Brom, Eamon. We all know I'm not a great fan of Allardyce, but he's regarded now as an old-fashioned manager.
Yeah.
And he's old-fashioned because they don't play out from the back and that.
Yeah.
Right. Now, my take on is I think managers now and teams now are playing out from the back too much.
Yes.
Right? So, like, he's not going to do that. But he caught Chelsea out time, especially for the first goal. It was a long kick out from the goalkeeper, Eamon.
Yeah. Yeah.
That he went right through. They were too far out, the defenders, because the defenders now at Chelsea are expecting them to start playing it here, playing it there, and it gives them a great opportunity to get into position.
Yep.
And I honestly think watching the matches, I say, turn on, it goes into a midfield player, turn on it. No.
Yep.
No. It goes back to the fullback, goes across the pitch, and that's become fashionable now.
Yes.
I don't think it's right. So what Sam is doing, I think if he had better players, Eamon, he'd be okay, because he's not doing that at the back. Now there's times you can do it, but he's not playing out in the goalkeeper to the edge of the box and back. And certainly the way it worked on the weekend was there was very little playing out from the back from Sam, but they were getting it up front. They were keeping possession of it. As you say, Silva was sent off, which didn't help Chelsea, but they well deserved to win. West Brom. There's no doubt they weren't lucky in any way. Actually, they killed them.
Killed them, John.
Killed Chelsea.
Now, our weekly look at your old club Leeds, John. Played Sheffield United at home. Sheffield United are dead and buried. They've only got 14 points after 30 games. And Leeds were steeped.
They were blessed, Damon.
Yeah.
They had one of those mixed games where they were very good at times and then very, very poor at time. Rafinha, you know the lad Scott.
Yeah.
Like, he was brilliant for the first goal, and in the second half, he gave the ball away time. He can do brilliant things. Yeah. Most matches, but on Saturday, time after time, he gave it, and I think he got man of the match and that.
Right.
But he was terrible in the second half, and Leeds were terrible. He gave the ball away. They were very lucky to get away with it.
Okay.
But Rafinha is like he can be brilliant, but in the second half they didn't go watching the telly. They didn't go back long enough. He gave the ball away from nothing.
Yes.
For Sheffield United's goal, it was a whip back, but it was just careless stuff, really careless stuff. I don't know. Many times he gave the ball away, and he was still man of the match. But anyway, that's by the way.
They had a guy called Phillips, John.
Yes.
He's in the England team.
Yes. I
didn't know that.
He's got good qualities, Eamon.
Really? Yeah.
He's got good qualities. He wins the ball well. But again, he's like a lot of the midfield players, like sideways, backwards, not turning on the ball.
Yeah.
He can do a lot more. He could really, really be a top-class player, this lad.
Yeah.
But he does win the ball, and he's a brilliant distributor of the ball. He's a lovely passer of the ball.
Right.
Long passes, short passing. But I see him, and he's like the lot of the midfield players now. The ball's played into him, and his first thing, give it back to the fullback. He can do an awful lot more. He has the ability. He has the weapons, Eamon, but he's not using them.
Okay, and just to note that I'm sure you'll be aware of it, John. Leeds have exactly the same number of points as Arsenal. They're both in mid-table. So that's where we stand. John, very grateful to you, as always, for talking to us. And big Champions League week this week for Liverpool tonight at Real Madrid, Dortmund and Haaland at the Etihad to play Manchester City. So we'll be talking to John maybe later in the week. We're very grateful to him for today.